Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we talk with Washoe County Commissioner Marsha Berkbigler for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're always delighted to welcome back to the program Marsha Berkbigler. She is the Washoe County Commissioner. Pleasure to have you back on the program.
Thank you. Nice to be back.
You have stated before that you're a Trump supporter. As we're taping this on the morning of January 8th, the president has made his speech. It looks like things are backing away in terms of conflict with Iran. Just give me your brief thoughts on this whole situation.
The gentleman who was killed, and I use that term loosely, deserved to die. He's been targeting Americans for many years. And one of the reasons I like Trump, I don't like I wish somebody would steal his machine so he can't tweet anymore. I wish he would learn to keep his mouth shut sometimes. I don't like what he says, but I like what he's done with the country. He defends the country when necessary, and that's what he did. He stepped out, he took care of a real threat against the country, and Iran, okay, they came back at us, but they didn't kill any Americans. And this guy had killed Americans and was intending to kill more. So my brief opinion is, good on you, Trump.
All right, let's turn to local issues. You're running for re-election.
I am.
No opposition at this point in time, but there's
no
still
announced.
still time to file. And we'll have other people come on if they do announce. But what's the top 3 issues for you or your constituents in the coming 4 years?
Well, I think probably most important, of course, is tax dollars and how we spend them. So are we using our tax dollars in a way that is beneficial to all the constituents? So we have a number of issues. We need to consider new sewer systems or upgrading the existing sewer systems. As you probably know, the county has 5 sewer systems spread throughout the county, in unincorporated county. And then of course there's Tom Wharf, which is the major sewer system for the area. And all of our sewer systems are getting to the point where they're close to being tapped. They're not there yet, but they're getting there. And so we have to look at that as an issue, because the truth is you can't have people unless you have sewer systems. One of the most important aspects of a community is a good sewer system and a good treated sewer system. So that's one of the, I think, really key issues for us, and how we're going to find the dollars to expand that without increasing taxes. I think one of the major issues is, do we increase taxes? We get a number of people who come to the county and ask us to increase the GST, which is the government services tax, which basically is the tax that you pay when you go and register your vehicle. So every year people pay that tax because, of course, you get your license plate renewed every year. And so, and we were given by the state legislature the ability to increase it, I think, by 2%. back several years back, and the county has never stepped forward to do that. So the question is this the time to do it? And in my opinion, no, it isn't. I think things are too, the economy is doing okay, it's doing good at the national level, but a lot of the reports are that it's going to flatten and not continue the wild growth it's got. I think what that means to Nevada, especially to northern Nevada, is we won't be flat, but we won't be growing from an economic perspective really high. So let's give us a chance to look at that before we do anything. But things that people want. Figure out how to get that for low-income housing. Put that in place, and then fund the trust fund, the workforce housing trust fund. We're short on housing. We know that. We're short on, and so how are we going to resolve that issue? How are we going to resolve the homeless issue? The county is in the process of, through help from the state, through a lot of grants, through help from a lot of private sector people, building a campus to move all of the homeless families, women, children, and lactating mothers, the mothers who are homeless but have babies, move them from the Record Street campus downtown to the old NAMS campus and into an area called It's Our Place. And so we're working on that and getting that all done. And that's
I'm sorry, and NAMS, is that the
Northern Nevada Mental Health Services campus. That is the campus on Galletti.
Okay.
It's owned by the state. And it used to be where the state mental hospital was many years ago. And there's still a lot of that in that type of thing there on the property on the campus. But we have staked out a place that, thanks to Mike Wilden and the former governor, and the current governor has just been fabulous to work with us on this also. So we have staked out a place that there's some housing and or buildings and things, and so we're going to be able to move people in there. And so address the homeless. So I think the homeless issue, it's kind of all tied together. So I guess what I would say in answer to your question, what's the number one issue for us? The number one issue for us is tax dollars, and how are we appropriately using tax dollars to make sure that we are benefiting the needs of the constituents and taking care of those who are less fortunate.
Okay, so when you say it's the number one issue, is that the number one issue that people are actually talking to you about, or is that the number one issue you see from your perspective when people talk to you and you take all the different things that they bring up? That's what it comes back to for you.
Well, I think that's the number one issue of what I see as people come to me. And let's just say there's not a large block of people who come to me and say, okay, this is the most important issue, or this is the most important issue. There are groups of people who come and say, we need to do a federal lands bill to give us more area to grow. That's a very important issue and an issue we're addressing. We need to do something about the homeless downtown, because that interferes with people going downtown and using downtown services. It interferes with businesses downtown. It interferes with visitors coming in and the business growth that we're seeing. So we need to do something about that. I get a lot of people who come to me and say we need to do something about dispatch. And of course, that's been my hot button since I got elected back early on when I first got elected, is that dispatch in the greater Truckee Meadows area should be run similar to how dispatch is in Clark County. So in Clark County, you have 5 municipalities. We have 3. In their 5 municipalities, they have a communal, if you will, dispatch. So there are 3 people on service 24 hours a day, and they're there and they manage dispatch for the whole area. And they can see and know where the nearest truck is to the incident that's being called in, so they just call that nearest truck. And so there are a lot of people who think that's a really key issue, and in some levels that is a really key issue. I would say that's probably number 2 as far as the numbers of things that I hear from people. But clearly the major issue is money.
All right, let's take a break and we will start going through some of these topics when we come back.
Tamarack Junction is South Reno's hotspot with over 450 of the latest slots and video games. Sully's Sports Bar, the Dining Car Restaurant, William Hill Sportsbook, and the Tamarack Steakhouse and Lounge. We're just north of the Summit Mall in South Virginia. Yeah.
Because of UMC, I'm putting my free time to good use.
Because of UMC, She keeps me on my toes.
Because of UMC and this guy, I'm here.
UMC, the highest level of care in Nevada.
Hi, I'm Eric Robnett, owner of Home Energy Experts. Has this ever happened to you?
Honey, did you remember to turn down the thermostat?
Forgetting to set the temperature? Not fun. We can help. Our new smart thermostat keeps the temperature set for your comfort all by itself.
I'm feeling hot now.
To increase your comfort, go to homeenergyexperts.com for details. That's homeenergyexperts.com.
The signs and symptoms of cataracts can start out small with subtle changes in your vision. So don't wait. Be proactive and take your vision into your own hands. If you're experiencing the onset of cataracts or just have questions, contact your eye care professional or call Eye Care Associates of Nevada today. Dr. Hiss has years of experience specializing in the surgical correction of eye disorders and has completed over 84,000 vision correcting procedures. At Eye Care Associates of Nevada, we'll change the way you look at the world.
The Tamarack Junction Steakhouse is known for signature steaks, handcrafted cocktails, and world-class wines. Join us Thursdays and Friday nights from 4:30 to 6:30 in the Steakhouse Lounge for live music, gourmet plates, and well-priced wines, just north of the Summit Mall on South Virginia.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Washoe County Commissioner Marsha Berkbigler. So you listed a whole bunch of issues. Let's go into some of them.
Okay.
So does the pipeline between the sewer plant for Reno Sparks and the county that will be going to Tahoe-Reno Industrial Center alleviate a more immediate need for upgrading the sewer plant?
It does, in the respect that that pipeline is going to take effluent, and they're going to use the effluent out there. So that, yes, in that respect it does. Because of course, one of the things about sewer plants is storage of, you know, effluent, semi-treated water that's treated but is not, can't go back into the full water system yet. So yes, in that respect, it will reduce some of the stress on it. But it still, as this community is growing like crazy, and so it's still, over time, it's not going to take care of that whole problem. And additionally, there are other sewer plants that have nothing to do with Tom Wharf, which is the sewer plant you're talking about. You know, Commissioner Hartung, who's really, water is his hot issue, and he's fond of saying, we have water in the Truckee Meadows that is trying to get to the Truckee River, and we have water that's not trying to get to the Truckee River. And when you think of it from that perspective, that is exactly the issue we're dealing with. That Tom Wharf plant, one of the reasons why it alleviates a lot of the problems with this pipeline is because that gray water can't go back into the Truckee River. It has to be more treated before it goes into the Truckee. But there's 2 sewer plants in Lemon Valley Stead area. One is owned by the city, one's owned by the county. Those 2 sewer plants, the water there is not attempting to get to the Truckee River. They're enclosed basins, and so that water is being treated differently, and so that effluent is being treated differently and treated in a different way. And so those are both areas that we have to look seriously at.
All right, so let me make this a closer question, which is, what kind of cost are we looking at, either in the near future or in the not too distant future, to upgrade and expand the sewer treatment plant?
One of the discussions that's been batted around between, you know, elected officials and staff is, do we need to build a new sewer plant up on Bedell Flats, up in that area of the North Valleys? And there would be I think it's called an A+ system. So in other words, the water is treated. You can drink the water right out of the plant because it's treated at such a high level. And that's a discussion. But to build a plant, we're talking, you know, $100 million or more.
100 million?
Mm-hmm. Or way more.
Closer to $1 billion, perhaps?
Could be, maybe 500 million.
So when you look at that and you look at the potential, Lee Gibson was here in his pre-retirement interview talking about that I-80 being expanded would have to come from local fees. It would not be the federal government. That's probably a multi-billion-dollar project.
Multi-billion.
and then you add into it another $500 million for sewer. This is
Big
not going
money.
to be.
We're talking real dollars.
We're talking real dollars.
And the thing we need to remember, something I've said to you before, governments don't have money, people have money.
Correct.
And so those are tax dollars that are coming from the citizens. So, and I think that's what I meant when I said earlier that probably the number one issue is dollars, money, and tax dollars, and how are we going to use those to best advantage the citizens here?
Okay, property taxes. The legislature didn't take this up in this last session. Do you think that there is more and more pressure now on our legislators and the governor to address the property tax situation?
I think there's a lot of pressure on the legislature to address the tax, shall we say, what's a politically correct way to say really bad tax system? I don't know the politically correct term. But I mean, we have such a divided way of doing taxes here, and it negatively impacts municipalities because everything that's collected goes to the state, and then the state reapportions it back out based on population and income of the community and all of that kind of stuff. So numbers of counties. Yeah, I think the legislature is going to have to address the issue of property tax. One of the things they certainly need to address is taking when a house is depreciated as far as it can go, taking that off of the house, and so that when the person moves out, the house, the new person moving in has that depreciated tax. That's when you're growing like we're growing, and you have so many people coming from out of state. It is illogical to me to have a house that somebody from California comes in and buys, and they have this really low tax base. They're used to paying a lot more taxes than we would.
Okay, but do you see, and you spent a lot of time lobbying at the legislature in your previous life, do you see a governor in his first term taking this on in what is essentially going to be his first budget?
No.
Okay, let's take a break. More with Marsha Berkbigler when we come back.
Dimitri Prine here for Design Outdoor. Come visit Design Outdoor's store and backyard to see our wide selection of fire pits, barbecues, and pizza ovens, natural stone water features and fountains, and frost-proof pottery. Our store and backyard are located at 11600 South Virginia, just north of DeMonte Ranch Parkway. Visit designoutdoor.com or call us at 851-9499.
One of the most psychologically damaging things parents can do to children in divorce
is disparage one another, which is why I can't believe I even have to make this commercial.
Half of your kids' genetics come from this person you're spewing hate about. Your children have the right to love you both, but more than that, they deserve to love themselves.
Marilyn York might be a men's rights divorce attorney, but this is for every selfish parent. Shut up!
Hi, I'm Dave Newman. Remember me? I used to be the house detective, and now I'm a realtor full-time at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates. A lot of people ask me, how's the market? You know what? It's fantastic. If you're even kicking around the idea of buying or selling, give me a call. Let's talk about it. Call me at RE/MAX Realty Affiliates and just ask for the guy who used to be the house detective, Dave Newman.
Everyone is talking about opioids, but they're not the only drugs that can be harmful if taken in large quantities or not as prescribed. You also need to be aware of side effects from anxiety drugs, muscle relaxants, sleep aids, and stimulants. Mixing prescription drugs with other drugs or alcohol can be dangerous. If you take Ambien with a glass of wine, it may be enough to stop you from breathing. Prescribed drugs can be just as dangerous as illegal drugs. Take medications only as directed.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Marsha Berkbigler. She is the Washoe County Commissioner. So Pat Mulroy, former general manager of the Southern Nevada Water Authority, probably one of the most respected people in the water industry.
Absolutely.
Spending a lot of time now in Northern Nevada consulting with various groups. She said on the program that we are potentially looking at a water crisis in Northern Nevada if we don't have additional storage. Your thoughts on this? I mean, for years we have heard from the Truckee Meadows Water Authority that we have a long-term drought supply, we're in good shape. But Ms. Mulroy says, you know, an extended drought in the Truckee could cause a crisis. I agree. I think anytime you can find additional storage, upstream storage, it's a good thing, and not interfere with, you know, the agreements to make sure that. Where would you put it? I mean, would this be something new, or because I mean, it seems the environmental road for that would be another 30-year project, which is maybe not that big of an amount of time when you consider that's how long it took for the Truckee River Operating Agreement to come to fruition. There are places probably in the North Valleys that you could look, you know, on the west side of the North Valleys that you could look at putting it in. But again, you know, the cost of doing that is going to be pretty high. And would it be done by the state of Nevada? It wouldn't be done by the local government. It would, you know, I mean, that's the question. Who's gonna find the money to do it? Even if you could find the location, and there are probably some locations that you could find, but even if you could find the location, who's going to find the money? But I think she's right in the respect that we think we have a lot of water in the North Valleys, but we also have a lot of closed basins that all have clay, so the water doesn't permeate through it and get back into the aquifers like it needs to. So how depleted are some of those aquifers? She would know that way more than me. And I just think it's a broad issue that needs a lot of attention. On our commission, the person who probably works the most consistently with water issues is Vaughn Hartung, who lives in Spanish Springs and lives out in the valley in Spanish Springs, so really understands the problem of water runoff. And that's one of the major issues that we have here, because our mountains are shale, they're very dry, so when it rains, and it does tend to rain a lot in some, you know, certain times of the year. When it rains, that water runs right down into houses and right down. How are we going to harness that water? That's a good way to start. That's a good place to start. And I know that's one of the things that Commissioner Hartung is spending a lot of time talking about. I have some real concerns about the flood control, not TUMWA, but the flood control. And I do because, you know, when they did their ballot question, it was all about flood control of the river. And the truth is that's really not where we have major floods. Now, yes, we have had major floods in the past, but we've made some minor improvements to, you know, kind of address that issue, the Sparks, you know, bypass and that kind of stuff. So we've made some minor issues to try to address that issue. But really, the ditches and the runoff, the storm runoff, are really where we have big issues in the area that's growing in Washoe County. And I have some problems with flood control because I don't think they're addressing those issues. They're focusing solely on the river. And we need to address all the flood issues, all of the storm runoff issues. And what is your biggest concern? What would your number one concern be? Where would the flooding occur that is the biggest concern for you? I think anywhere where the ditches run through, so the Steamboat Ditch, the Ore Ditch, all those ditches, and what happens with those is you get this runoff factor. It's not just the rain coming down or the snow coming down, but you get the runoff factor from our hills that, you know, are dry and they run off, and so they run into these ditches, and the ditches then overflow. They get lots of sediment in them, they overflow, and they continue to overflow until they get cleaned out. And so I think those are issues. I think the closed basins are issues. I mean, now... Well, okay, but what about developers? When you're seeing a project in South Reno that's been bouncing around with the Reno City Council, the developers say they have any flooding problems mitigated, but others are still concerned. Define mitigated. I think that's really the question. So now if... You don't want to be asking me questions because I know nothing. That's why I bring you on. Yeah. I mean, but I think that's the question. Define, when they say, well, we've got it mitigated, how? Show us how you're going to mitigate it. Are you going to do like Perry DiLoretto has done and build a great big, you know, culvert so that he directs the runoff water and directs it to basins where it can sit and percolate through the ground? Is that what you're doing? Well, then explain it to us and show us how you're going to do that. And I'm not sure that developers from Southern California necessarily really understand that, and that I think is a concern. So I don't know that I'm not opposed to development because I strongly believe we
if you're not growing, you're dying. And we have a robust growth going on here, and so we have to house those people, so we've got to find some place to put them. But we can't build a housing in major flood beds without some serious mitigation discussions.
Are you surprised that the water storage and potential crisis for the area water-wise has not had more attention? We got about 10 seconds here.
I am surprised that it hasn't had more attention in the past years, but this is a new decade, and as I was explaining to the people on the CHAB, which is the homeless committee where we all look, let's look at the new decade and new ideas. Let's not live on the sins of our past. Let's figure out how we're going to fix the future.
And that's where we have to leave it. Marsha Berkbigler, always a pleasure, my dear.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. A bird's eye captures its surroundings at different heights. At Brian Culpa Photography, we can make your imagination soar over buildings, parks, cityscapes, and beyond. Brian's images tell the story and get the job done. If you need a new perspective to tell your story, contact Brian today. Brian Culpa Photography. Experience the bird's eye view at brianculpaphotography.com.
Hey, Dad? What are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
St. Ives Florist for every holiday and every special occasion. For romance. Custom home design. We have the largest selection of fresh flowers in northern Nevada. And we also offer a large selection of unique gift items. Come see me, Lorianne, at St. Ives Florist, 700 South Wells Avenue, or call me at 333-9190.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
You can now watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search for Nevada Newsmakers and become a subscriber. We'll see you on the next broadcast. Thanks for watching and listening.